there. Fuck. Yeah.
Actually, do you know what? We should really just invite people on for tea. You know, we could.
Well, I'm drinking my every time I do a podcast, decaf tea, my friend. The way forward.
Decaf. I can't.
Me and Nikki, we had like a meeting because I'm editing Nikki's record and with the producer and the drummer and stuff. And Nikki was just, you seem like you've calmed down now. You were just going through like whatever you were going through, Nikki, when we were doing that meeting.
It was my 4th cup of coffee, and then I've had a pint of Coca-Cola and a Ribena.
Yeah.
No actual H2O. It's all been like a conglomerate mix, and yeah,
you both seem calm. You both seem calm for two people that both have ADD, so it's all good. So.
Yeah, now I'm on a caffeine come down.
Just crash, you know.
I'm gonna cry in a minute.
Rod
Think about all my regrets.
Rod, you're very chill today. You're very slouchy, and you're
very relaxed. I don't want to sit too high. I thought I got quite a good. I've moved the microphone so it's a bit more central because, you know, I want to get the sound, and then I can go in tight for the
literally, Nikki,
radio voice.
80% of the vocals have been recorded like this.
Yeah, I actually am part of. I believe a rare breed of vocalists who a lot of people, they pump themselves up, they get in the moment. I actually record my vocals sitting in this fucking chair. So when people say, "Oh, I like the intensity on that," I'm like, "Yeah, I'm literally sitting here with a cup of tea, going." Ah!
Oh man,
my one.
I have to like air guitar and like pump myself up.
I was going to ask, yeah, do you do that? Like, do you when you sing vocals, because you're a guitarist? Do you have to wear a guitar and do it, or can you just go into that moment when you're recording?
It depends on the song.
Okay.
You know, sometimes it's like if I the Art Disconnect, I did the whole vocal in the room and in the control room. I didn't do it in the vocal booth, and George was literally sat less than a meter away from me. And sometimes when I was doing a good take or bad take, he'd be like patting me on the arse and shit while I'm doing takes.
Amazing.
And it was like really intimate and close. And when it was like doing like big screams and stuff, it's like, okay, you know, like that type of thing. But then there's times when you're trying to be all like, you know, when I'm trying to rip off Daniel Johns again, and I'd be all like, fucking yeah, I'm dear the fucking yeah, you know, like really like fucking giving it some like grabbing shit.
Going through your John Lennon phase, like growing your beards and, you know, just being artists. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Yeah, you sort of, it's whatever you want to channel that day, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. Do you know it comes at a price? It's like a one take. So like it comes at a price on Art Disconnect. When I tracked that vocal, it was like, all right, we'll see how we go. And it was like near the end of the day, and it was like, I really want to get this one in. You know, when you just like set yourself stupid goals like, oh, I want to track all 100 songs today. It's like, it's not realistic. How about tracking 2 really well, mate? That would do better, you know.
Like, I want to do the whole album now, and it's like, all right, whoa. But generally, like, your takes are so.
I very much get the competitive side of things. I hate to bring it up, but Russ is like the opposite of me. Like, he wants to take it slow. He really
fuck that. I want it done yesterday.
Right. I'm just like, do you know what? I want to be known as the vocalist that comes in 15 minutes. I'll give you a track, and then I'll fuck off and do what I want to do. And I get pissed off if I'm taking too long. You know.
I do. Do you know what the worst thing about tracking vocals is? When you go, do you want to just do you want to do a rough take and then we'll check the levels? I'm like, no. Shouldn't you have prepped that before I'm here? I can't do a rough take. I do it. I don't. Yeah.
Exactly. What's the point of not recording gold when it's coming out of my mouth?
Yes.
Recording gold. That needs to go on a t-shirt. What does that say? Like, recording.
Well, I should have one that says recording shit. Just like. You know, yeah.
My word. Yeah, like the other day, like for our next single, well, not the one that's coming out soon, but the one after that,
which is coming out the 20th of March.
It's gonna be mid-March.
Mid-March
now. Yeah. Rod asked Rod to do some vocals the other day. I was like, actually, can you just track that chorus again, just because it's just gonna be a bit? And he just sent through like 4 bangers, like quadruple tracks. I was like, cheers. Like, it was just like,
did you see?
Yeah, great. You know.
Did you see how he was sitting when you were saying how good he was? Then he was like, it was like he was American. Like
Rod's like, and the same with you, probably, Nikki. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like there is an art to people can sing. That's great. Not everyone can record, and that's a whole thing in itself.
I find recording vocals extremely hard.
Difficult.
It is very. It's all in my head for a start. That's one thing. But I have to be like, yeah, could everyone just fuck off while I do this, please?
Are you one of those? Are you?
Oh yeah, you know when people are like, oh, I'd like to have the band in. I'm like, no, you've done your bit. You know, if you do you want this to be good? So piss off. You know, do something productive, which is don't be around me while I'm doing this diva moment. You know.
Yeah. You have diva moments. Interesting.
Well, no. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, I don't now, because like I'm chilled and calm and I have wonderful medication that makes me see clear. But when I had the fog, like, and I haven't slept, I'm an asshole.
What were you like?
I'm an asshole anyway, but I mean,
what were you like doing Art of Disconnect? Were you pretty chilled? Was that pretty intense? Was that quite intense?
It was very, very intense recording because the like 80% of the record was done in 4 days.
Wow.
It was rehearsed so tight. It was like
amazing.
It was like, you know, fuck yeah, we've done really good. And I think it sounds that way. You can tell like the playing's like on it and things, you know, and the vibe. Like all the drums and the bass were recorded live, you know, and it was in the big #1 live room at BG, and it was just like perfection in there. And there was times, you know, where like we could dim the lights for mood in there, and Ben and Joe would be well in the pocket and things.
Amazing.
And then, then I just did guitars left and right. I think I had like a Strat and a Tremonti throughout the whole thing.
I just doubled. They're just doubled, are they?
Most of it's doubled, yeah. And then I used, I think it was my Jaguar. My Jaguar is like my secret studio weapon. Like for some reason, like when I do big riffs, I stick a Jaguar down the middle, one amp, you know, one mic, usually a 57 because it's like and gnarly, you know, and yeah, the Jaguar just sits in the middle. So usually when you hear big riffs, there's like 3.
Yeah.
So there's like left and right, you know, which just pads it out, you know, and there's 2 amps on each thing. So there's like a stereo rig in each side. So there's like 4 mics of guitars each side. And then the Jaguar comes in the middle, and usually something like a Telly or a Strat, but like not a humbuckered one, will go in the chorus.
Yeah.
You know, so it just kind of, so there's like humbuckered Strat, Tremonti, a Jaguar, and like a traditional, like a hot single coil. Strat.
Okay.
That's kind of that, and I'm pretty consistent. Like, I don't really like a lot of guitars.
Yeah,
you know, I'm very, very finicky about like things I like. If I like something, I like it. If I don't, then I don't want to know. You know, and you know, and there's like a lot of the time as well is like on like the Tremonti, I think most of the Tremonti was like barely any gain on the amps, and then there was a fuzz box.
Nice.
So what you hear is mostly like gain Van Halen style, you know,
mixed with the fuzz,
yeah, you know, and then and that's how that's kind of balanced. So the most you can prominently hear it like that is the grip, and it comes at a price where you can hear it just go like, you know,
it's an amazing guitar sound. You know? Thanks, man. Thanks. Like when I listen to it, I'm like, right, my album needs to be like that, but better. Like,
well, it's funny because like my first album, Eyes, was like every song, every left and right was like different guitar, different amp, pedals, not pedals, trying to do all this stuff, and everything sounds exactly the same. In Deadhead, I had a Les Paul, Telly, Jag, and a Strat, and I didn't change any settings on the amps. I just went, yeah, that's my sound, committed to the same sound, and let the guitars' natural tones do their thing. And the Telly I had was like a super hot rodded double humbucker thing, you know, but with a maple neck.
Amazing.
And it was really, really cut through, but like fat as well, you know. It was like really like mid heavy, you know, so it kind of had like a Les Paul,
like a honk,
SG
like
thing,
that honk in the middle.
Yeah, dude, yeah. So I think in the actual song Deadhead, you can hear it's like, you know, like it's just like that.
It's almost like you're tailoring frequencies, aren't you? I found that with our record. It's like I've got a left and right of the same sound, which is essentially like a Marshall, with a tube screamer, and then in the middle to make the third guitar sit underneath. I just shoved a Mezza dual rec in the middle. Same guitar, but just
it
had a bit more fuzz to it.
There's
And a
something
different
about
frequency
the
and
dual
just-
rectifiers that sit. They just like live. They can be a bit flappy sometimes, but
Yeah.
I get on really well with 6L6 valve amps and dual rectifiers. I love. That's like one of my favorite amplifiers of all time, like the good ones. You know, like the Rev Gs, and I actually really like the triple channel ones, like the 2001.
Yeah, the triple
I-
recs.
Yeah, like I really like that. And Deadhead is a dual rectifier and an orange Rockaverb 100,
Okay.
and they're blended together through two 212 V30 orange cabs.
Nice.
So, but they're in the booth. They were stacked on top of each other.
Incredible.
So
it's
it was
4 by
like
12 kind of blended.
yeah. So it would look like a 4x12, two like orange 212s close back
Yeah. with
on top of
different
each
sounds.
other. And then I
Incredible.
think it was like because again, like I'm really picky with like mics.
Yep.
On my cabs, like I like the Ribbon. Is it the Ribbon 215?
Yep.
And the Sennheiser E906.
Do you not have a 57 on your cab?
So yeah, I think because the Ribbon is like not always around,
Mm.
you know. So and as a rule of thumb, I think Mark was like, well, I want to use the 57 because it's what he likes to use.
Yeah.
So which of course I think sometimes you have to honor that because that's why you got the producer in the first
Of
place.
course. Yeah.
You know, so rather than just going, well, I'm doing it this way, and it's like, well, why am I here then? You know, just do it yourself. So
Yeah. it's a little bit
sometimes
like,
you know, when you have someone, especially like Mark Roberts, who's a fucking genius.
yeah.
You know,
mixing our record.
yeah, he's mixing your record. Yeah, great move. You know, and when he's doing his thing, like he has a sound. Like great producers have these sonic things that they do. They don't even know they do it, and you go to them for that. You know, and Deadhead is like for me, is like the epitome of like me and Mark's vision.
Yeah. Amazing.
You know, it has like this great.
Mm.
It's like a really nice. I mean, I'm not to toot my own horn. It's just my observation of it all. It's this perfect hybrid synergy of like modern and old school.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of that was. It sounds fairly old school, like fairly like roomy, and like the band have
That
just picked up
works, you know,
instruments.
that
Yeah.
still go to those types of sounds, and there's a reason people still use those sounds. You know, so it's like
Yeah,
mics,
man.
isn't it? There's certain mics for vocals that people just like, or preamps. Like everyone goes, "Oh, Neve," and it's like, well, yeah, why change it? You know,
Yeah.
Cheap Marshall, why?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I think. See, that's interesting because I've got an Eric Clapton Strat, right, with the laces in, and it's got like the mid boost thing,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
the
like
circuit, yeah.
fucking loud guitar. And people are like, so what's your go-to guitar in the studio? And it's like a 1990s, I think it's like a 91, that's an original one. Clapton Strat in drop B.
Yeah, with a
You know.
V-neck, like yeah.
Yeah, the V-neck, man, yeah. And
Yeah.
then usually, actually, this is one that I've been using a lot at the moment.
That's cool.
This is my Love Kills Strat.
Nice.
And
You
it's
made that one. Is that a Fender? Or...
Yeah, it's a Fender. The only thing original on it is the neck and the body, though. It's all.
Oh yeah. Got it
You
down.
know, it's like got a coil tap on it
Nice.
with a humbucker. You know, it's got a 3-way switch, so it's like a telly.
Yeah.
So when you coil tap it and put it in the middle, it's literally like Telecaster.
Nice. That's
So-
cool. Gives you the best of both worlds, doesn't it? It gives you.
Yeah, it's a quite versatile guitar. And then my PRS Silver Sky, which
Oh
God knows
yeah,
what it
I
is.
keep hearing great things about it because I've never played one, but I need to play one.
Oh yeah, you can borrow mine, dude. I've got I did like an Ian Thornley thing with it. So I've got like a humbucker in the neck, single coil in the middle, humbucker in the bridge, and then if you put it in either the neck or the bridge, you pull the bottom tone up, and then it does
Right.
the Les Paul in 2 fat humbuckers. So it's
Nice.
like super versatile. I mean, like we've just totally gone off.
I know we're not even talking about guitars now. Rod's like,
I'm so sorry,
hang
Rod.
on, like,
I'm just sitting here going like, wow, you guys are going deep.
you know what?
It's like if I start talking about football.
This is this is touching the surface stuff with me and Drew.
I know. I would say
regularly-
Nikki, you're like deeper than I am with that kind of stuff. Like I'm terrible on it, and it's something I need to learn more because I am just like a plug in and play.
Yeah, but you're sick. So I have to know all this shit because I'm shit.
Like the Van Halen approach with me. I'm like, does that sound good? Yeah, that'll do. Jack socket. Yep.
Yeah, but it's like the other day you said, "Oh, I've just come off a podcast with Nikki on your Patreon page," was like 3 hours long. I was like, you spoke for 3 hours. Now I get a window into, how that easily
Good
can,
podcast. And we've had loads of
that's awesome.
Yeah, I've got to get. I say I've got to get Drew back because he's got a fan base now.
It's funny. Yeah, it was
good.
cool. I was pretty diplomatic about things, but it's
Drew, what, you don't have strong opinions about stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's fine. So
what do you think about supergroups, Nikki?
Oh, here we go. Yeah, supergroups.
Supergroups. Now, do you know it's interesting you say that because I was thinking about supergroups this morning because the new Shadow Addicts record come out.
Who's that? Who's in that?
Jason Bold and James Thingamabobby from Bullet for My Valentine's. Got Jim Davies, who was in Prodigy and Pitch Shift.
Wow.
Ooh, nice.
And I'm always like, that's a lot of stuff to like, could go really good or really bad. And I heard the record this morning. It's fucking ripping.
Oh, good.
I was like,
right,
oh my god, there's like riffs and stuff, and like the drumming's like.
I think with supergroups, right, for me, like, here we go. Like, I won't go too much around. It's just that, Rod decided to paint a picture of me in a certain way.
It's great. It's great. The power of editing, right?
Editing.
Because, like, if you listen to that first podcast, a lot of people go, oh, Rod, you just talk and talk and talk. But because I'm editing it, I've managed to make it look like it's the Drew Show. And all the controversial stuff, boom.
Well, it was just me saying that, just because it's the greatest people from certain bands doesn't necessarily going to make the best band. But I think what I will say is that a lot of it comes down to the hype and the expectation that is going to come from that group. Everyone goes, oh my God, if you think, let's go back to Revolver or something. Like, everyone's like, Stones of Pilot's amazing, Guns N' Roses, amazing. Oh, together, it must be better than the sum of those two bands. And when you realise it's not, and it's just great music, but it's not what that is, I think people just maybe feel a bit like,
I did not like Velvet Revolver.
Oh, here we go. Rod, what have you got to say about that?
I'm pretty much like, they had a few
second
songs,
albums,
but it was a bit. I don't know. Do you know what I was thinking as well? I was thinking also it's about the context of when the supergroup gets formed. Often, like, when you get these really, really good collaborations with people from bands, I personally think they tend to be better when those bands are still very, very prolific and functional in their own right. I think when you kind of get this hype, like, for example, Velvet Revolver is quite an interesting one where it's like, people have been waiting for, the whole kind of Guns N' Roses posse to get together and, release another album, and it wasn't happening. And then obviously STP was on, on a little bit of a hiatus. So that expectation of then, oh, these two groups of people are going to get together and they're going to create something good, when actually, probably, if you're looking completely objectively, they weren't kind of smashing it out of the park like they're used to. They were maybe on a little bit of a dry run, and then they get together, and then you go, well, actually, yeah, the band that, maybe the level of songs didn't meet the peaks that they were probably at with those two bands maybe 10 years earlier. It's maybe not surprising like that. I don't know how you feel about that, Nikki.
See, I fucking hate Guns N' Roses for a start.
Okay, why? Why do you hate Guns N' Roses?
When I listen to it, I can't connect to it. I'm really black and white with bands,
and
it's not that I don't think they're good, right? It's that I respect that they're good. Of course they are. I will never do a fraction of what any of them will ever do. Sob story me. But like, if there's something in there, it could be a guitar sound, some playing, a melody, a lyric, even artwork. If none of it connects with me, then I'm just uninterested, and I switch off from it completely. Like with Guns N' Roses, I don't like the sounds, and there's just I'm not really into like that type of like lyrical content, and all that stuff. So for me to kind of pick up on it, I don't know, it just something doesn't connect to me. And Slash is obviously like a good player. He does a thing.
I don't
right?
like his tone. Never liked his tone.
No, his tone's bullshit. Just my opinion.
Top
like
top end.
it's a Les Paul into a Marshall, and I have a big problem with that.
Yeah.
And I know his actual Les Paul that he uses all the time is not actually a Les Paul. It's like a copy that some guy built in a shed.
Something like that, isn't it? Yeah.
And and it's like unbranded and stuff. It's like a flamed thing. And yeah, I mean, obviously the thing is though, the reason why these people are great in the first place is because there's something about them that is different. You don't have to like it, but as a musician, I go, he's doing something different, and he's definitely stands out from the crowd. If you put 100 solos on and put a Guns N' Roses one on, you're gonna go, that's Slash. You don't even care which album it's from. You just go, that's Slash. Same when Dave Grohl stands behind the kit.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as he hits something, you just go, it sounds different. You know, and Richie Kotzen's the same. You know, Chris Cornell's the same. Every time Chris Cornell sings, you're like, that's Chris Cornell. Like before he even gets into like a couple of words, you know it's there. You know, and like Tom Morello's the same, which I suppose is how I'm tenuously linking the supergroup thing together here. Like I really liked Audio Slave because Tom Morello was playing a Strat.
Yeah.
Like straight out the bat, I was like, yes, he's not playing that stupid fucking guitar. You know?
A guitar that even he hates. Of like and he's like, it was like a custom made guitar. He was like, and he got it made. He spent like a fortune on it, and he was like, I hate everything about this guitar. That Arm the Homeless guitar, the blue one. So he just ripped it all apart, didn't he? And just.
Yeah, it's so weird, that story about that guitar. But
and his amp, apparently, he's like, I'm never going to find my favorite amp, so I just use this 50-watt Marshall forever. But that'll do.
Yeah, that's the thing with him, isn't it? He just doesn't like his guitar, and he doesn't like his Marshall. He thinks they're shit to play and they sound shit. He says, but you know, what was his thing as well? He was like, you know, the thing with a 50-watt Marshall is that there's a 50-watt Marshall in every country in the world. If I've got some weird boutique thing and I can't fly out with it, then I'm fucked. So it's like fucking, he's true, man. You know, but yeah, he does a thing. Not everyone likes it, but he does a thing, you know. So when you kind of get those people that do a thing together to try and superimpose their thing, because you put it under more of a microscope.
Yeah.
You know, like you first discover Tom Morello because he was in a band called Rage Against the Machine, right? So, and you listen to Rage Against the Machine because they do a thing. You take him out of that, you know, and then you put Chris Cornell in there. Is it the same? No, it's never going to be the same. You know, are Rage Against the Machine fans going to like it? No. Are Soundgarden fans going to like it? Probably not.
That was the problem. Yeah. It was too.
None of their fan base liked it, but but it created a new path.
Yeah.
You know. And the thing I have a problem with things like the Velvet Revolver thing is that it was kind of like, here's Slash's new band, and it's like, it's not Slash's new band, mate. He had Slash's Snake Pit, which were bullshit beforehand.
Yeah, I didn't like them. That was a bit weird, wasn't it? Guy from Jellyfish, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know, and with that, you know, I'm very sorry, by the way, I'm very opinionated on this shit, and I don't mean to offend or upset anyone. These are my opinions, and I sleep very well at night with them.
Yeah, my wife thinks I'm stuck in the 90s, and I don't live anything past like.
The 90s were great. I don't know why everybody's. The 90s were literally like, if I could go back, maybe apart from the 80s, but like if I could be me now in the 90s, I'd be slaying it. Like,
oh, literally. Dude,
I think all of us would.
Yeah. I don't think we'd be doing podcasts because one, they didn't exist, but we'd be on a jet somewhere, you know, with ripped jeans and plaid shirts, and
we'd be recording 4-track demos, trying to post them out to record labels.
Exactly,
like the old school way.
I once wrote to a record company after recording me, on like a tape machine and a microphone that I found, and I sent the tape to Gut Records.
Wow.
And I was like, I can play drums, bass, and guitar and sing. So that's a good reason why you should sign me.
Amazing. At least
Did you get anything back from them?
No.
Shame.
Yeah, so let's talk about, I'll tell you what, let's link this into, you know, let's talk about bands getting signed and off the bat like that. You know,
it's a really good segue, actually, when you think about the story behind Silverchair.
And actually, a little bit like you, Rod, in your first band. Not too dissimilar, if I'm going to be really honest.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, because Silverchair, like they were jamming in a garage, and it was really hot.
Innocent
so the garage door was open, right? And then someone who was on that show that they won literally drove past and went, "You should come onto this show."
Triple J or something.
Yeah,
and it was like a battle of the band, like you know, like a
they got a chance.
The band competition.
They won a chance to record in a recording studio. They recorded Tomorrow, the demo of Tomorrow, which then got released by, don't know, Sony or I don't know what fucking, I don't know. Got released, became the biggest selling single of all time in Australia, and beat the Beatles. And there were a bunch of 15-year-olds. It was like, whoops. It's like that's the dream right there. And the parents are like, oh. And so the original single was actually the demo.
Yeah.
You had to buy on CDs the demo. Then they went and re-recorded. They did the whole album with
Kevin Shirley, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Fuck's sake.
Fuck's
I know.
sake. And you can hear it as well. And that's
imagine
probably
being
like the record.
Imagine being 14, 15.
And it sounds live, doesn't it? It's just like a real guitar. But they were kids, you know. It was like the first 12 songs he ever wrote.
Well, it's like I don't think they played all the instruments on all the way through that first album. I think
you reckon?
No.
I always thought he was a great drummer. I always thought he was.
He got worse, I think. As
Yeah,
he got
used
older.
to pound them like Neon Ballroom. So I was like, oh, wow. Like,
yeah, if you see him that, and he's like proper like this, you know, like a perfect mix of like Tommy Lee and Dave Grohl, and then
it was amazing.
And then after the Diorama tour, when they reformed from Wave Aid onwards, he started had that weird looking kit, and he started wearing a bowler hat, and he's doing all that Bonham stuff.
He went into Bonham world.
It's like,
well, he used to be a bit more punk, and he had a shaved head, and was just like,
it's like just play the drums,
But yeah, anyway, going back to like Silverchair and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean they were very young, and they're only a few years older than us, and that's the bit that still wears me out.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about Daniel Johns, what is he? I think he's like 79, 80. So
he's only just turned 40.
So he's in his early 40s, and you just think about how much of a body of work there is at that age. It's insane.
Yeah, but I've thought about this because I've always gone like, fucking hell, man, he was 18 when he did that. But the thing is, right, he had the best training for that in the world. You know, all of us at the age of 14 were no better or worse than how Silverchair were when they were 14, right? But they got pushed, and they had people 24/7 going, we're going to make you guys really good, you know. So they got piano lessons, they got drum lessons, they got vocal lessons. You like the difference between the playing, the sound, the tones, everything from Frog Stomp to Freak Show is this the same band? You know, because not only have they got like 2 years older, but they toured the world, you know. And it's like Ace from Skunk Anansie is a good mate of mine, and I said to him, it's like, oh, did you ever like play with them? And he was like, yeah, we played with them in America, I think he said, on the Freak Show tour, you know. And they like the drummer couldn't hit the drums hard enough, so that was like one of the first times they used like live triggers.
Oh wow!
To like make the drums go like doosh 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 doosh. You know what I mean? Yeah, because they were struggling to get him like projected properly throughout there. So it's easy with an amp, isn't it? You know, just turn it up.
You know.
Yeah, so that's when they started using those original triggers on his kit. You can see it around that time as well. There's an MTV thing that they do, and they sound a spitting image to the record. And it's because it's the first time they started putting like the triggers from the album they put in the live. So everyone's like, this sounds so good live, and it's like the same drum sound. You know, like triggered in there. And it was very clever, you know, that a lot of the technology that they used and stuff. And he said, like, you know, they could barely like play, but what they did was perfect for what they did. You know, and it's the same thing like when you get to Neon Ballroom, you think like, oh well, they were only like 18 when they did that. And you're like, yes, but you got to remember that, you know, 4 years, 5 years, they were touring the world, and they had everything at their fingertips to be able to make sure that they wouldn't put a foot wrong. You know, they had their education on tour buses. They still were in school. You know, their parents toured the world with them, you know, and they had a team that would make sure that like women wouldn't go near them and all that shit until like a certain age, you know, and all that type of stuff, which is great because you think that's probably one of the only times really like someone like that from the outside anyway. I'm not sure, obviously I don't know what it was like on the inside, but you know, you've got to look at like people really looking after the artist.
Good management.
For like mental health and stuff, really. No. But it's only after. But the downside of that is what happened to Daniel Johns. People thought he was treated badly, but I think most of his story comes from the fact that none of them had any control because they were kids. You know, it's like Daniel Radcliffe, right? He didn't get a paycheck until he was 18, and he got like, you know, it was like 10 million quid in the bank, but he couldn't access it until he was 18 or something. So it was it was a good thing because those would have gone off the rails type of thing,
Yeah. Well, they did.
50.
I mean, they sort of did in a weird way, like both of them. Young,
Yeah,
I mean,
having all that at that age.
You can't comprehend it,
No.
because like you think as well, like, okay, yeah, cool. I was like working out the fucking, Panama guitar solo on my Strat and stuff, but they're writing songs that were no better or worse than songs that I wrote at that age, but they were just on a platform and they had a good producer and people that would, eke the best of them out. It was only really Neon Ballroom onwards where I think the band actually begin. I mean, there's some cool songs on Freak Show. There's some cool songs on Frog Stomp, but like if you listen to even how they all talk about it, they go, "Imagine the whole world hearing the very first songs you ever wrote." It's going to make you feel weird. Imagine a fucking bullshit song you wrote when you were 13, 14.
Yeah, Pure Massacre.
Yeah. Right.
Rod, do you like Pure Massacre?
I do. I find like
you're an early fan.
I find quite a lot of solace in Silverchair because I think, my experience in the music industry was really, really, really quite similar. And what you said about literally the first songs that you write becoming songs that were released, essentially, like that's what happened with my old band Violent Delight.
Yeah, totally.
There are loads of sort of parallels, and I think one of the hardest things, and it's really interesting you mentioned about having the right people around, and that was something that we didn't really have. It was just a bit of a free for all, and it just went a little bit off the rails. But what I think was one of the hardest things, probably on the mental health side of things, is people would kind of like reviewers and stuff, they would treat us like we were adults, right?
Interesting.
But we were children. Like, so we got signed when I was 15, and I predominantly was I think I was the only member of the band who was wrote on every track, right? So essentially they were, and then also as well, like, you're writing your melody and your lyrics, so that is a lot of the song, a lot of the personal connection side of it.
Yeah, totally, dude. Yeah.
And it was this kind of thing. It was like, I felt very much people were comparing us. That was, oh, this is puerile. It's like, but these are songs. And when I say we got signed when we were 15, some of the songs that are on the album we wrote when I was 13, 14. You know what I mean? So actually, by the time the album came out, I think I was like 16, 17 kind of age. So actually, in my head, I was already a bit like, these are a bit, these aren't necessarily representative of like necessarily the direction that I want to go in. But it's just really, really strange, kind of being treated like held up on one side as like, oh, it's really cool. There are these kids that can do this, but at the same time, you kind of have these like, especially music journalists, like, treating you like you're an adult, and instead of going, you know what, for a bunch of 14, 15, 16-year-olds, this is actually pretty good, they'll go, yeah, I mean, what is this? Kind of like comparing you to bands that might be, in their mid-20s, in their 30s. So yeah, I think like you're saying about like the pressure that's on you and all of that sort of stuff is really, really kind of quite intense. And like, we kind of fell by the wayside after one album. But then I think for Silverchair to kind of, I think something that's really interesting with when they came out is it's like there's some really interesting stuff online about like, were they kind of fated to kind of take over from Nirvana? Because there's some, and I don't know if it's true, but it's something along the lines of like, within weeks of Kurt Cobain dying is that chance meeting where they get put on this talent show, and it's almost like the spirit of grunge gets channeled through Silverchair to kind of continue. And I think what's really interesting, like there's really good interviews, probably more towards the end of the kind of Frog Stomp era, where they are quite noticeably pissed off that people keep comparing them to Nirvana. And I look at that on one side, like when I first was kind of looking at that, I was like, they seem like they're having a bit of a moan, but then you think they're 16, like they're emotionally not ready for the
their brains aren't fully formed, man.
Absolutely they're not.
No.
I mean, I don't want to go into like ridiculous, controversial opinions, but people talk about things like giving responsibility to young people and all of this, and like changing like voting ages and all this sort of stuff. And I think that that's a conversation to be had, and there's merits on both sides of the aisle. But I think something that is really important is your brain isn't fully formed, and that's not to say that you shouldn't be discounted or that you shouldn't be given extra credit, but that is like, you're not the person you're going to be at that time. So I think like when you look at like their reactions to these things, and then I think the music press kind of vilified them a little bit for saying those things, and it's treating children like they should be adults. And I'm sure if you look at like child stars, Daniel Radcliffe's probably a really, really good example of this. Like, you're holding maybe somebody accountable because they're a role model and they've got like this platform and whatever, but you need to kind of then put yourself back in the position of being a human being and thinking, fuck, the pressure that like people like Daniel Johns, people like Daniel Radcliffe must be under at that age is pretty phenomenal.
Well, it's like I have a lot of time for Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually really like his music, right? I'm a pop fiend, and I love it. If you heard him play drums, he's a pretty decent drummer, And again, like, people are like, oh, he was an arsehole at 18. I'm like, well,
we all were.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you had fucking, literally like $25 million in your bank account, you have girls from the age of like 13 to literally 40 odd wanting you, is fucking weird in the first place. That's a different fucking conversation. If it was the other way around, it would be, it wouldn't happen, but it's all right for like a 40-year-old cougar to jump down on an 18-year-old, type of thing, which that's different conversation, of course. But like, all people did was go like, oh, he's a dickhead. It's like, well, I don't think he's a dickhead. I think he's frustrated because guess what? When you're a man at 18, you ain't a fucking man. You're not a man until your mid-20s, at least, when your brain's fucking fully formed and you've got a decent frontal lobe cortex, for example, and you're touring the world and you've got this and that money coming at you, nothing in the world's a problem. Same thing with Daniel Johns, right? The reason why he went anorexic is not because he had an issue with food. It's because it was the only thing in his life he could control.
Yeah.
So he stopped eating because it was his choice. It wasn't someone else's.
Wow.
It's the same thing with like, looking at Justin Bieber and stuff. And it's like, I just think, why is everyone hating on him? Do you want him to fucking die? Do you want him to kill himself? Look at fucking Amy Winehouse.
Yeah.
It's like people are going, she's a fucking mess. It's like, yeah, we know she's a mess. Maybe you should help her.
Well, it's like Kurt Cobain, the whole Kurt Cobain thing. I know he died at 27. That's like, well, young.
Yeah.
Think about it. But I think they were signed. They were within about 2 or 3 years of the whole thing. Like it wasn't like years of. I keep forgetting. Like Nevermind came out in end of 91, didn't it? Back in 91.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like September.
And he was
91.
dead in April 94. So
yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
And I would say the pressure that he felt from all that would have been horrendous.
And you've got to remember as well, he had a crazy wife. He had,
he wasn't kitted out for the rock star lifestyle though. Everyone turned him into, but more than that, he was like John Lennon, and he just didn't. I think he was just a bit like, you speak to Dave Grohl. The interviews you see with Dave Grohl, and all of them were just like, what's going on? Like,
well, I think the thing with that is it's like it's dysfunctional kids as well. Like that's one of the things that probably saved Silverchair and allowed them to have that kind of great career, is that network of people around them that kind of had their head screwed on. Whereas when you look at certain artists that kind of rise to fame, if they don't have that that kind of foundation behind them, it can really kind of drastically change the effect it has on you. There's a really good documentary called Dig about the.
Oh, that is the best fucking music documentary of all time.
Mate, it is phenomenal.
The Dandy Warhols and the Brian Jonestown massacre.
I've yet to see it. I've not.
Mate,
loves
you
it.
have to watch it.
I showed it to my girlfriend, right? And we quote it all the time because it's just ridiculous. Like there's that bit where Anton's in the studio and he's like, "The best friends I ever had But like it's like a good like goodbye to mum and dad, the two best friends I ever had, and
No,
it
it's
cuts
the two
away, and
best.
you're like,
Nikki, it's the two best friends I never had.
oh yeah, the two best
Yeah.
friends I never had.
Yeah, and it's but there's a really interesting line where Courtney Taylor says, you know, we think about the difference between our band and their band, and we think, you know, we're the most well-adjusted band in America because all the members of the band, you know, our parents are in their 60s, they're still married, you know, and then we look at BJM, and it's like they're the unwanted children of like multiple divorce, and they're like, you know, he said it's like Lord of the Flies as a band, as opposed to kind of like, you know,
He's a very intelligent guy,
well-grounded
that
people.
guy.
Courtney Taylor is a really, really smart guy. Just some of the business decisions they made. I think there's a bit at the end where they talk about he kind of realized that major labels in those days, because this is what early 2000s, were giving out enormous video budgets, and I think, you know, early in the documentary they're doing that. Not if you're the last, no, not if you're the last Danny on Earth. It is Not if you're the last junkie on Earth. Sorry,
Yeah.
video that David LaChapelle does, which is a fantastic video. But they're talking about that cost $500,000. So Courtney Taylor's obviously realized we've got stung for that because we're paying for it. So, you know, with that in mind, when they've kind of had their Bohemian Like You hit, and I think they're doing the follow-up single for the next album, which I think was We Used to Be Friends. What
that's a great song.
He basically was like, okay, cool, we're going to do a video. From what I hear, he set up a video production company so that he could pitch for the video. He got the pitch, took the hundreds of thousands of dollars for the video, and then he literally built a permanent structure that they could shoot a video in, and then turned it into like a music venue come recording studio that was under his control moving forward. So he basically he basically worked out how to get money out of the industry that was risk-free for the artist and turn it into a
Actual
self-sustaining, profitable venture that has allowed him and the Dandies to record the rest of their albums, to record multiple music videos outside of the control of the label. And it's like, but this is the difference. Like, you see two, like, there's Anton Newcombe, there's Courtney Taylor. They're both phenomenally gifted musicians, but one of them is more than just a musician. He's clearly a well-rounded guy. He's got an ambition. He understands how the industry works, and he doesn't want to get taken advantage of. And then you have Anton, who, in my opinion, writes better songs, but that's all he does. Like, and unfortunately, he doesn't have that foundation behind him. I mean,
there's that fucked bit with Anton Newcombe that I think it's just after that bit you're talking about with Courtney Taylor, when he's saying we're the most well-adjusted band and stuff, and then they have this like 20-second clip of Anton's dad, and then when it's Anton's birthday, his dad commits suicide.
Yeah.
So for the rest of his life, when he celebrates his birthday, he also celebrates the death of his
dark
dad.
man.
Does it on purpose for that?
Yeah.
Like kills himself on purpose in his son's birthday. Yeah, you got to question that.
Do you remember as well the mother? There's an interview with the mother, and you know, you just think back to like maybe your childhood or situations where at the end of the day, that, you know, if you're lucky enough to have like a supportive family, you know that there are going to be people in your life that are going to stick up for you no matter what. And there's just this bit where his mum's like, yeah, do you know what? Like, he kept getting into trouble, and eventually I was just like, I just don't care anymore. He can just do what he wants. And the police called me and said, your son's being arrested. And she was like, yeah, call someone else. And you're just like, wow.
Well,
yeah. And then you think what happened with his father, and you just think,
wow.
Probably great material source.
I don't know. The thing is, though, with that, like, you know, there's people that I know who are like, there's never been anything like wrong in their life and stuff, and they write great songs.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a torture in itself. Me and Drew have spoken about that about people before, and it's, you go like, well, you know, they got everything on a plate and they're adjusted enough that, like, all right, maybe they're not the most pleasant people to be around, but they definitely have something they're definitely offering something which is better than the average.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. But it's hard to you know, you know, that I think me and Drew have joked about before, like the troubled artist, you know, like, you know, there's that thing where like sometimes like misery loves company, you know,
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
some
it
artists.
is a funny one, all that. Like, but then you get artists that are great, and they're not like that. You know, it's
Yeah,
weird. I watched your interview with Ace yesterday, and it was amazing. He talks about the whole Andy Wallace thing when he produced he talks about post orgasmic chill and all that kind of stuff, and it was amazing, like the whole thing. And I was like, well, they just play it live. He's just like, what? Like, it's just because it's all to tape. And but I wonder if Ace is like one of those artists where he just is a bit here, there, and everywhere, or is he quite together? You know, as a bloke.
he's really together. He's
Okay.
a very intelligent guy, and he's got his shit together. And you know, I think that's the other side. It's either you've got your shit together and you just go out and hunt it down,
Yep.
or you're fucked and somehow you're in a whirlwind and you're getting through it all.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I'm somewhere in the middle, which is why I'm nowhere.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. We need to. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've spent the last bloody 12 years of my life as a complete mess. You know,
Now you sort of come back with us. You're like, right, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm like, oh, I'm living and actually enjoying life now. You know,
That's
so
good.
but then you say that, right? I'm writing the best stuff I've ever written.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy. And there was like a period of time, I'm paraphrasing a million conversations me and Drew have had over the last 2 years. But like, there was moments where it's like I can't fucking play guitar, and then now it's like I'm getting sessions left, right, and center, which is amazing, you know, and doing this and that and that, and I'm really happy and I'm working hard, and it doesn't seem like an effort. I'm enjoying
Nikki,
every aspect of it. Yeah.
You think though, like, because you talk about like, I know there's this kind of like misery loves company and this kind of thing, but when you're very productive, right? So I think it's kind of a balance of the two in some regards, in that you're productive when you're happy. You know what I mean? But do you not tap into those, the kind of feelings that you had when things weren't going so well? And it's almost like when you've got like this good level to be on, what you can do is you can kind of revisit some of those feelings that you have, but you can express them in a positive way and use that positivity to be more productive and be more prolific, rather than kind of when you're in the depths of it. It's really difficult sometimes to get the motivation to do those things. So
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I've been thinking about that a lot recently, and because I'm like, oh man, I'm writing about this again, and I'm like, I can safely go to those moments in my mind and not them, and then they can't fuck me up anymore.
Yeah.
It's not, they're not great, and it's not that I'm like okay or comfortable with them. It's just that you know I'm in a position where I've created a safety net of life, and I can like you said, tap into them. It's like imagine like a metaphorical library, kind of like Harry Potter going into like the depths of whatever it is, Gringotts thing, and they unlock stuff, and it's, here's stuff, it's safely stowed here, it can't ever get out, but you can go and visit it from time to time, that's kind of how I kind of a weird fucking analogy of how I use my shit, so there's things that I can tap into, because as a songwriter, sometimes you come up with a melody and then you match a guitar to it, but most of the time for me, because I was a guitar player first, I write on the guitar first. Arguably that's the lesser way to write a song, but you'll come up with a riff and you'll go, well, this feels angry. And your brain goes, here's a time you were angry, and you go, fuck yeah, fucking remember that, or like you do it and you go, that makes me feel somber, or what have you, and then you tap into the emotion you're feeling from the music. Does that make sense? So
sure.
kind of, that's how I write now, is that I'm now armed in life with mental health techniques from good and bad experiences, that I'm extremely happy and balanced and calm and collective, is what I say, like namaste. I'm very calm these days, and I'm able to, whenever I want, tap in or talk about anything, and then use that to the correct source, rather than kind of, you know, going out and getting fucked up somewhere and going, oh, Jesus Christ, I remember when I was 11 and that kid said something to me. Yes, we all have those moments, of course we do, you know, and I've been tortured by that stuff all my life, but I'm able to go, well, that doesn't happen anymore. You know, that's something that happened, and you can just acknowledge it from afar without it hurting you, and then use that experience that you've gone through to then write about it. You know, I know that was the most epic explanation for like that,
No, it's
that's
interesting.
that's what I do. Yeah,
It's interesting because, like, and that goes back to the Silverchair thing where he would write the song and the lyrics together. Whereas, in our band, it's I write, and Rod writes the lyrics, and he writes from his emotional place,
yeah.
and things like that. So it's just a different sort of format, isn't it, Rod? It's like,
But it works though, right? Because I've heard all your shit and it's amazing.
Of course, but I mean, like, I've never really sort of spoken about it with Rod. Like, when you hear my riff, when I write a song, does that evoke an emotion from you that you're like, oh, I've got to write.
What I tend to do with writing, I always write melody first. So
yeah,
I very much, I'm not one of these people. I literally don't think, maybe one or two times I've had like a line in my head that I want to merge around. But I do kind of write lyrics every so often.
Yeah.
But what I'll do is I'll do the melody first. Usually on the keyboard or something, and I'll have this fucking awful, like, really cheesy MIDI sound.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then I'll start to think about words that are like anchor point words. And I, generally speaking, I don't usually go into something. Maybe one or two tracks I've gone in with, like, I want to, I went through this phase of like, I really love the whole kind of like living on a prayer. Bon Jovi writes stories, writes about things. And I kind of actively went out my way for one of the tracks on the album to go like, I like this story and I'm going to write a song about this story. But
that's like that's like a Nashville country thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Which I found really, really good to kind of grow as a songwriter as well. Just putting yourself in a different situation. But generally what I do is, like, I'll have a melody and then I'll come up with just anchor words that work well. And then I try not to think too much about what it is I'm writing about, but the words then kind of just will fit around that. And it's almost as if, like, a lot of the time I'll end up writing a chorus or a verse and just kind of go with what's coming out. And it'll only be like a few weeks later, once the song's there, that I really understand what it was exactly I was writing about. You know what I mean? So I kind of just try and tap into a bit of like the subconscious of how I'm feeling, or if there's something I want to, there's something I want to say. I don't actively go out and go, I'm going to write a song about this. I just, like, I've got these thoughts in my head and I'm getting them down. And I find often, like, I compose a lot of my thoughts and kind of concrete, I don't know what my position or what my take on things are after I've kind of written the song and I reflect on it and go, oh, actually, yeah, shit, this is kind of, it's a way of me articulating how I'm feeling without kind of consciously being aware of it. And that's what I try, that for me tends to work the most. So I would say 7 out of 10 of the tracks on our album were written in that way. And it's almost, that's why I find it really hard when, like, John, our PR's like, yeah, could you write like a paragraph about what the song is about? Because a lot of the times I'm just
hate
like,
that.
Oh,
I'm a PR agent and I hate talking about, I have, it's like, I asked the band, and like, can you give me like a little paragraph of like the song and stuff, and when a PR agent says to me, can you write a paragraph, I'm like, fuck no.
Yeah.
Can they not just listen to it?
Aren't we just opening our art so that they can decide for themselves what we're interested in?
Oh,
yeah.
Or the message that we're trying to make. Because I think that's the thing that I really, I don't know, I kind of just like music to be ambiguous, and not ambiguous, but once your track is kind of out there, it's kind of in the ether, and it's up to the audience to decide what it means.
It's everyone's individual emotional interpretation of the art being presented in front of them.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Know what I mean? bruv.
Although every so often you kind of, I remember.
Maybe we should just write some instrumentals.
I remember once going to see a band, and it was only into the second song I realized, oh god, they're a Christian rock band, and it never crossed my mind. And then I was like, oh, that girl he's singing about is God. And I was just like, oh man. And then I was like kind of torn because I was like, oh, I'm not really sure I'm enjoying this. And I was like, well, I do like the music, but it's just kind of
that puts me off. Subject matter does put me off songs if someone tells me about it, or someone. I know there's, there's more than one way to skin a cat, isn't there? Like there's so many different interpretations of everything, as we were just saying. Really, it's a bizarre one. I tell you,
they're not direct, are they? Lyrics are just like, it's weird, isn't it? Like great example, like Silverchair song, like Anna song. I was like, oh, who's Anna? She sounds great.
Yeah, it's like, right, like, it's it's anorexia. Oh shit, really bad
right,
now.
shit, yeah.
I was like, why would he want Anna to die? That's really horrible.
That's really mean. Like Anna's,
the tune "There She Goes" by the Lars.
Yeah, it's about heroin, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like there she goes again, flowing through my veins.
Yeah,
it's like
it's pretty obvious when you think about it.
Yeah, when you hear it and you know that, you're like, oh shit, he's just literally flaunting the fact he's a massive heroin addict, right?
It's like Golden Brown, isn't it? Stranglers.
Yeah, Golden Brown. Yeah. Hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah, Hurt. Like that's a drug song. I tell you, there's an interesting thing about this though. I'm doing a session at the moment. It's really cool, actually. It's for Georgia Train, and the band behind her is there's a member of the Dresden Dolls.
Cool. Oh,
cool. Brian, I can't pronounce his fucking second name properly, which is really bad. I think it's Vigilante. I think his name's Brian Vigilante. He's a fucking beast, and I was given piano and a vocal, and they went, yeah, can you just change it and make it everything? And it's like, what? Okay, so I'm literally like, they're like, yeah, the piano might not even be there, so you just got to rewrite the whole thing. And I'm like, I'm literally writing to a vocal.
Wow.
And I wrote like rhythms to the pace of the vocal.
Oh, cool.
And at first I was like, just going like, like coming up with just like basic stuff. And I was like, okay, there's my chords, because it wasn't obvious, because the piano wasn't kind of like lead notey, it didn't have any root notes. It was just like stuff like that, and you're like, there's no root here. I've got to work it all out, type of thing.
Yeah.
So I started with the bass, and I was like, here's my thing. And then I was like, oh, there's a cool rhythm. If I can do it like that, I could imagine the drums doing that.
Yeah.
And I kind of built this track backwards and like sent it off. And she was like, this is fucking sick. And I'm like, that was a really bizarre way of like doing it. I've never been presented something so kind of
on the spot, innit?
Yeah, it was just like it was the reason why I think it's come out so well is because it very much felt as close as you could get as like a digital jam inside a rehearsal studio. When someone goes, I've got this idea.
Yeah.
What do you think? And then someone goes, play it again, and then you get a thing coming from it. Like, what's your root note there? What's happening here? And it was kind of like that. And it was a really, after I got my head around, I'm playing guitar for a track. I'm not writing a guitar track.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, right? And like I'm being like, the reason why they want me on the track is because they want some outlandish big guitar, just doing some rhythm thing, because it's what I do, just like one string, one note, like, but make it sound like there's like you're getting smashed in the face with a hammer, like so it was great doing that. It was a very different way of doing things, rather than like sessions you get, they're like, yeah, can you just play this verse and the chorus, and then we'll fucking chop it up and do whatever.
I've done loads of those.
Yeah, you just that's where you make your bread and butter of this type of stuff. They go, can you just come up with a sound? I'm like, yeah, send it over. And you're like, fucking, what's this?
I hate that.
They go like, oh, we need a bass part over this, but we want it to sound rock. And it's like a type of track, and you're like, okay, not much to go on here.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's the thing, isn't it? It's hard to make things out of thin air, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it is
especially when there's no
interesting.
like route or guide. You got to
No,
create
it
it.
is interesting, like with artists and stuff. Okay, try and root this back to Silverchair again, but artists that always change, always move, always change their sound every record. I'm such a fan of that. Like, my favorite bands never repeat the same album.
Why would you want to though?
Well, you
That's
see
the
it happens a lot, doesn't it?
I mean, guys, AC/DC have sold a lot of records.
But this is it.
Yeah, but it's the same
one...
fans. This is the thing with that, and or again, I respect AC/DC. I respect what they've done, but like, it's I just can't connect to it at any level. Like, I have no idea what Thunderstruck is about. I don't know what the Highway to Hell is about. I'm just like, cool. I don't want to go on a highway to hell, man. I wouldn't mind going on a highway to Disney. So if you wrote a song about that, then I'd probably be more interested. But joking aside, like, they had a fan base because before them there wasn't really anything like them, and there wasn't, so they came along and did a thing. Like, again, they did a thing, and that's worked well for them. So they've just kept on doing this thing, and they're not any bigger. They're just not smaller. Same with Iron Maiden.
Yeah, Maiden are the same.
And it's like, like, you go and listen to Iron Maiden because you want a thing. Like, Placebo are another great example of that. Like, you've heard one Placebo song, you've heard them all, type of thing, but you go to them because there's a thing that they do and you want that. But I also like that. But at the same time, I love Ian Thornley from Big Wreck, and every single song he writes is different from the next. It's not even albums, it's like songs, like different tunings, different parts. Like, one minute he's gonna rip a solo, next it's like some delicate acoustic piece, and there's no like, he's people go like, what are they? And I go, they're a rock band. That's as simple as it is, because there's so much introvert stuff, and then next minute there's some drop A fucking sludge thing, and you're like, well, there was an open G flat acoustic number a minute ago, now it's like this.
That was my sort of thing with Just a Ride. Like, with I'm such a huge Pilots fan, Stone Temple Pilots, not 21. 21 Pilots.
I actually really like 21 Pilots.
Yeah, it's maybe,
sorry.
I don't know. You'll have to school me.
I like 21 and Stone Temple.
Exactly.
Pilots.
Are there any other Pilot bands? I know Jason Lee has a son called
Pilot Inspector Lee.
The Pilots. There must be a band called The Pilots.
Hey Siri, is there any bands called Pilot? Oh shit, that's where my phone is.
Right. But like, if you listen to a Stone Temple Pilots record, it just takes you on a whole journey. 1 minute it's like, like down, and then it's like Atlanta, which sounds like something Burt Bacharach would have written. And you're like, all right.
Yeah, they were again,
Sour Girl. You're like,
it's
awesome,
like, Stone Temple Pilots, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. They are all grunge bands, but not one of them sounds remotely the same.
No, they all sound,
and that's what's so special about the the grunge movement, which is why the thing with new metal was fucking rad, but it had a thing and everyone did the thing, right? But grunge was just so, to me, this is why grunge was so special, is that they all started firstly as being like blues people, and then like they just started detuning shit until it was unaudible, and then because they were all like Zeppelin fans, and I'm not, I fucking hate Zeppelin as well, sorry, and Pink Floyd, I can't stand them. And sorry about that.
What, Pink Floyd?
Yeah, I can't stand.
Oh yeah, I just,
and Led Zeppelin, I can't fucking, not, it just sounds like trash to me, but it's my opinion. It's not fact. It's just my opinion. No need to cancel.
Be careful with opinions, mate.
But yeah, because people will cancel you for
people like, you're wrong, and it's like, well, I'm not. I'm
not. I just don't like them. Sorry.
Do you know what I would say? Do you know the best thing to do? Yeah, I might be.
No, ironically, when people go like, "Well, don't you think that?" I go, "Yeah, you're right."
Just walk away. Yeah.
Just walk away. Go, yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, cool.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I hate arguing, and I'm not going to argue with you.
No,
it's just my opinion. And they go, "Well, actually, I think you're right. I'm going to do this." Yeah, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, cool. See you later.
I'm sorry, I changed my opinion. You are right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, oh, yeah. You're absolutely correct. Yeah. Thank you for showing me the way.
Thanks for telling me.
So, you know, that's exactly the thing with like all that. You know, that they had like, you know, they're all like Black Sabbath or Led Zeppelin fans. You know, so there's an undertone of like slow, but with like really good singing. You know, so then you look at Soundgarden and you go, that is like a hybrid of Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath doing a thing, and it really works. You know, but it's still grunge. You know, and then Alice in Chains, you listen to Alice in Chains, and you're like, they're from the same town, they lived on the same street, went to the same schools, played in the same clubs, and they don't sound anything like. And then Nirvana as well, and you're like, really, they're in the same town? You're like, fuck, you know, how's all that? You know, and then
So
of course
original.
like Pearl Jam, although I'm not a massive Pearl Jam fan, funny enough, and although Mike McCready's a sick guitar, but he's like Hendrix, right? If you go and
Yeah,
hear
it's
him
weird.
play,
Like
he's
you
like,
watch it. Yeah, he's like Steve Ray Vaughan or Hendrix. It's like
yeah,
real
he's like
bluesy.
literally a Strat into like a Marshall blended with a Fender Twin. You know, and it's like that's a Stevie Ray Vaughan rig. You know, so
Yeah.
again, like, you know, takes his influence from there, and they're kind of presented in different ways. Like Nirvana were effectively like the Beatles with Gain. You know,
Well,
you know,
yeah,
if you
it's like
if
grunge
you really
Beatles, isn't
listen
it?
to it,
Grunge,
like
yeah.
that's why, you know, people go like, oh man, like the Nirvana unplugged thing is so good, and I go, well, yeah, because for a start, like Kurt Cobain like wrote pretty much every song on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
You know, and they were easy to play, so that meant regardless of what instrument you put it on, it would always sound like the song, which I think is a really interesting thing from a songwriter's point of view. You know, like there's something to be said about like, you know, like one baby to another says I'm
Amazing.
lucky, you know, like 4 chords.
Yep.
It's like it's the Beatles.
I used to love that when they used to do the gung, 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 gung,
Da,
gung,
da,
gung,
da,
gung.
da, da.
And they
Yeah,
used to do that, didn't they? It was like Aneurysm and songs like that, and I was like,
yeah, and you're like, that's fucking Ringo Starr.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
like doom da gung ga go doom ga gung ga
like
go,
nice
you
and
know.
yeah.
Even earlier than that, and you go back
Okay.
to like About a Girl, and you just think that's kind of like, to me, that's on Bleach.
Yeah,
About a Girl.
it's like
That's like the
E minor
precursor
to
of-
G major, like
Yeah, it's like that's one of the first ones that he's like, because that album, it's a little bit like, you know, they're exploring, they're kind of finding their sound.
What, Bleach?
Yeah, that like they're, you know, that song kind of, to me, is the blueprint for the rest of Nevermind. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of just it's rough and ready. It's not quite as polished, but it's just, you know, there are certain tracks on that album that have those elements. I think that one is the one that is kind of most concrete of kind of where they're going to go next.
yeah. There's an interesting thing about that, because like I'm a big punk rock guy. Sorry, I just Bex sent me a message that I need to go soon.
That's right. Yeah, it's cool.
And yeah, I love punk rock. Alkaline Trio, like one of my favorite
Mate,
records.
oh man,
Like Rod's
Alkaline
favorite
Trio.
band.
But I
Oh,
love
dude, My Shame Is True is in my top 5 greatest albums of all time.
Yeah.
It's perfect songwriting.
I should do a 2-hour
Perfect
podcast
songwriting.
about Alkaline Trio. That's it.
Oh yeah, dude, I fucking yeah. Oh, okay, that's.
What do you feel? So I'm like, two of my favorite bands are Blink-182 and Alkaline Trio.
It doesn't work.
What
You're like, no, it's not working.
I'm like, a lot of people are on the flip of this, but for me,
Well, the thing
like,
is,
I could sack off Tom DeLonge. I've got Matt Skiba now. It's all good.
Well,
but he needs Alkaline Trio to do his thing, you know.
the problem I have with it is that the reason why Blink worked with a dual vocal is because Tom DeLonge, there's a great documentary that he's done called The Pursuit of Tone.
Oh,
Go and check out Tom DeLonge, The Pursuit of Tone, and you'll think Tom DeLonge, The Pursuit of Tone, and you go and listen to how many iconic guitar sounds he created, and you'll go,
Fair
hats
enough.
off.
Yeah.
You created a generation. Like, yeah. The thing is, Matt Skiba's voice is too similar to Mark's, because Tom's was higher and was like, "You're an word, no fucking dirty sneer," you know, and then Mark is like, yeah, there's something near, you know, which is, hey mom, there's something in the back, Rich. You know,
Great impression.
hope there's not the creatures from above, you know. But he had that nasal tone.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Matt's a great vocalist, and he's actually of course he's a much better guitar player.
Yeah.
You know, and he's a much more tone guy. You know, he's got like that custom Jaguar he blends it with a Kemper with an orange and a diesel and a Bogner. It's a Bogner Shiva with a Rockaverb like 100, and he blends them, he turns them on and off and does these cool things, you know, and he puts a Kemper in the loop of them and stuff. It's like quite an advanced little rig, you know, and it's really cool. But you know, Tom DeLonge had a JCM 800 and a triple rectifier, you know, with a Strat just like straight in the middle, you know, and it was like, and he pulls the old rig out and he pulls the old guitars out in this thing and plays them, and you're like, fuck, that's the sound, you know. And yeah, okay, he's not a great guitar player, but he had a thing in his head that did it. But the reason why I talk about them is because Tom DeLonge was talking about when they were writing Enema of the State, is that he wanted to write nursery rhymes because he was obsessed with nursery rhymes at the time, because he couldn't believe. Oh, sorry, I thought someone was talking to me. Like he was obsessed with nursery rhymes, right? And so he was like, how do you come up with this 30-second little rhyme and it sticks in your head forever, and you're taught it when you're like 3? You know, how does that format work? Because like you can barely understand like what your own name is, you know. So but how can you remember this rhyme? So he put that ideology into songs, and then he said it just got the drummer to play really fast, and then it became punk rock, you know. And you go like, fuck, I can totally see it, like, you know.
Yeah.
It's clever. Really
And then
I
you
think
got like the tail end of it, like, you know, you're like, it's fucking genius.
Yeah.
It literally is.
Do you know something that really stuck with me? So I kind of use having children as a bit of like an acid test of music.
I do this. Yes.
Yeah. So the other day, we did a podcast with my old bandmate Ben McCrow, and me and him have done a cover version of
Prince.
I Would Die For You, Prince tune. And I was playing it. My daughter, she's 3, literally can sing that entire song on the first listen. And I'm like, fuck, that's the power of Prince as a writer.
The power of Prince.
The power of Prince. No, but like, she's just like,
not Prince Andrew.
You, yeah, no, I definitely keep the 3-year-old away from him. No matter where I was going on the private jet. Yeah, no, but yeah, she literally, I would die for you, like, and she's got the point, and like, there's just something about that melody, the use of the words. If a 3-year-old can learn that song, and Daddy, I want to listen to it again, and literally, she can just sing that off the bat, like. That's it. You've got a really good chance of having a hit on your hand, and I think you know it's so eye opening. So you know, obviously, I've been like playing her record, and you know, there's a few that stick. So a
few cheeky ones in there.
Yeah, I do it on the I say school run. You know what I mean, like going to the childminder and stuff.
Yeah.
With our like 2.5-year-old, and sometimes like he sings the odd line, and I'm like, why is he picking that line out? And I'm like, that's a really hooky bit.
Yeah,
you know, it's
and
like,
dude,
just put it on, like, you know, don't even go like, I listen to Daddy's rock music now, you know, like just stick it on in the middle of a playlist or something, and then see who reacts to it. It's really interesting.
And that's the part of the song that you use for the clip of it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to make a groove,
Absolutely.
guys. No worries, dude.
I've got to do exactly what I was just talking about, go and do childminder and things.
No.
You know, I know the you can't be rock and roll, and well, you can be rock and roll and have kids. It just,
mate, well, it was great to have you on. Like, you know, it was good, like having a bit of an in-depth conversation about, you know, the tracks and stuff.
Yeah, I love this shit. I can talk about this stuff.
Well, it's
all day
great,
long.
you know, all like the tracks, you know, the tracks that made us, and you know, it's really important. It's just
Yeah.
really, really important, you know, where
Very
you came
much
from,
so.
because you can forget, can't you? You know?
I'll do a quick rundown of like some tracks for you.
Do a quick, yeah,
Go
do a
on,
quick
go
rundown.
for it.
Like the
do you want
first
to
song.
do you want to play one? Do you want to record and play one and send one to us?
Yeah, I'll try.
All right.
Like I thought, like what would be like, you know, a couple of songs that like progressed on for me
Right.
as a writer and as an artist.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea.
So like my first song was "Sunshine Over Love" by Cream.
Yeah.
That was like the first song that was like, this is my favorite song in the world.
Yeah.
You know, and then after that it was, oh fuck, 18 Till I Die by Bryan Adams.
Oh mate,
Great
that's a
tune.
banger.
That album is amazing. As you
Yeah.
can tell, it's just cut live. Like it's amazing. And then after that, obviously, it was like Nevermind. Like just pick a song off that album, you know. And then it was the Stereophonics, Performance and Cocktails.
Great
That
album.
that
I
album.
prefer Word Gets
changed my-
Around, but that's, you know,
Yeah, those first two albums, they changed my life.
amazing record.
Yeah, and like you don't hear records that sound like that now. I was talking about this to someone the other day, and I was like, "Go and put that record on." It doesn't. There's not another album that sounds like Performance and Cocktails in
Well,
every aspect. It's
remember
just
it coming
so on
out.
its own.
It's
You know.
like, you know,
Yeah,
The package that thing is fucking cool. Like the cover, like the moment
so
you
iconic.
say that, I can
oh,
see
the brown
that
cover,
album
yeah,
cover.
the kissing,
And I can
yeah.
also see the end shot of the video for Bartender and the Thief.
Oh, great
like-
song, Bartender.
You know what I mean? Like it just kind of gets stuck in your head.
Yeah, that's like, you know, what does a Les Paul sound like? And you go,
that.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's the end of the conversation. Cheers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a great thing. Yeah, it's a really interesting chord in that.
Yeah.
I got to stop because I have to go. Otherwise,
Yeah, no, you go for it, mate.
Oh, it's
thanks
just
for-
some
thanks for
extended
coming on.
fucking thing. But yeah, guys, we'll have to do it again. It was great.
Yeah, man.
No, definitely.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys.
No
Nice
problems,
one.
buddy.
No
Go
worries.
have fun child minding.
Yeah, totally. I'll try. Take
Rod,
it
do you
want to
stay on?
Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
We'll stay on for a
Cool.
sec.
We'll stay
Peace
on for a
out,
sec.
guys.
See you,
Peace, man.
dude.
Take it easy, bro.
Good
So
to have
that
Nicky
was,
on.
that was the episode with NIKKI Smash.
That was amazing. I
It
enjoyed
was
that.
smashing.
Got deep. Got
It did
serious.
get deep. It did get deep. I
It's
like
quite
it.
deep. Nicky's a deep guy. Like, he's a good
Yeah, he
guy.
is.
You know, he's
He is,
got a
and
lot
I-
to say, you know.
Yeah, and I don't think I think it's quite interesting because obviously.
Yeah, come closer because the mic's.
Oh, come closer. Come
Yeah, you
closer. I'm very close. Yeah, no, I think. Sorry, I'm just really slouchy here.
You have, man.
Um,
You're so chilled. It's the first time
I
I've
am,
seen you. Like.
I'm just relaxed, man. No, like I think what's really interesting is obviously I kind of feel in a way I know Nicky because like you obviously talk about him a lot and whatever, and then obviously you know I follow him on social media and
Sure.
like he's a lot more kind of playful in kind of like his videos and all the stuff he puts out. So it's like it's kind of cool to kind of see another side of him and
Yeah.
and I guess that's probably what podcasts are for, really. So
Well, exactly. You end up sort of pouring your heart. Well, not pouring your heart out, but you just end up just talking. Like we sort of joke about it, but it's like it ends up being quite cathartic, you know, because you end up just
Yeah,
talking, and
sure.
it's like human. He was talking about it in his podcast with Ace. You should watch it. It's really cool with Ace from Skunk Anansi. And then they talk about that, and Ace from Skunk Anansi said that. He goes, it's not the being trapped in. He said it's not all that kind of shit and not being. It's like it's the fact I just can't go and have a beer with my mates in a pub. I just thought, yeah, it's very true. You know, just that after work kind of. Want to go get a beer and have a couple of beers, get a bit pissed or something. Like, yeah, cool, okay, yeah. See you.
I just want to say you have consistently in this episode talked about let's just go and get pissed.
have
It's
I?
like it's going to be your new thing. Like the references to going out and getting on the lash
Because I want to go out and get pissed, Rod. With my friends. Do you understand this? Right now?
I
Look at
do.
me. Look at my beard. I'm like, I'm gonna have a shave later. This is just terrible. Grey hair. I've got like.
Mate, I like it. I like the beard. I like the beard. I
might just trim it
feels-
back.
It feels with the coloration.
Yeah.
The kind of handlebar might be coming back.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to grow the tash back. See if the wife will let me know. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Christ.
I mean,
But yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. But I like that. That was really cool.
Yeah,
Really,
man.
really cool. Yeah.
Well,
Definitely.
listen, let's wrap the episode up. There'll be some sort of musical outro to
Of
it.
some
We'll,
kind. Absolutely.
Of some kind.
It'll be a
We'll see.
grunge. It's a grunge themed episode, as they all will be.
Yeah. I mean, we yeah, I mean that's what we talk about. But you say it's grunge themed. We probably speak
Punk.
more about other bands, other genres of music more
Yeah.
than we speak about grunge. It just shows the wide range of influences that everybody has.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Goodness.
good. Anyway,
Yeah.
great work, dude.
Yeah, man. All right. Cool. That was Tracks That Made Us, the episode with NIKKI SMASH. Stay tuned. Remember to subscribe. Yeah, just a ride. New shit coming out. Boom. Yeah, plug. I'll be able to edit this into something that looks fucking crazy. Maybe I'll make it rain cash in the background. Cool. All right. That's
Peace out, guys.
the episode out.
Great
Rock
stuff.
on.
Bye.